Well, here's a discussion to help you get ready for the weekend. It's almost a week since the crowning of the Miss South Africa 2024. Mia Leroux, with the South African Film and Television Awards, of finally having handed flowers to radio host, executive producer and actress for her stellar producing skills. This is after she successfully produced the Miss South Africa 2022 live finale, where she walked away with the Golden Horn for the Best Entertainment Program. But have you ever wondered what actually goes into putting on a prestigious event like Miss South Africa? Well, to answer that question is award-winning producer, radio and television talk show host, and also executive producer of Miss South Africa and its finale, and its reality show Crown Chasers, Relebogile Mabotja. Relebogile, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Is it weird being on the other side?
Yes, I was complaining that I need to hear what the director's saying.
Used to asking the question, I totally understand.
Yeah.
It's so interesting having you here because I think that people understand, you know, a few sides of you, but now we're getting to know the behind the scenes executive producer of Miss South Africa's finale. I mean, that's quite the job. Talk to us about how you got started doing that firstly.
So when I became an on-screen talent, I was already a production assistant. So I started right at the bottom at a production company, recycling tapes, you know, doing the very basics, and I worked my way up to being a production manager, to being a producer. That was always happening simultaneously with my on-screen work and then radio. So Miss South Africa came to us via recommendation 3 years ago, us being Black Swan Media, where I have my business partner, Bruce Townsend. And they were like, we need to breathe new life into this baby. And we said, okay, cool. Are you comfortable with some crazy ideas? Because that's our vibe. And then fast forward, we are here. You know, what I think is particularly interesting is there's obviously the discussion around this year's Miss South Africa getting so much attention, and Aldrin and I had the conversation last week about one thing's for sure, a lot of people are going to be watching the finale. So I suppose the challenge also has been, you know, getting the eyes back onto the pageant. Do you think that fell away, and what went into, you know, bringing the I suppose, the eyeballs back to Miss South Africa? So if we go back 3 years, where I think we were able to breathe new life into it, is that we had to think beyond pageantry, is how are we getting South Africans interested in a live entertainment show? It's still a live entertainment show. Hence you see we go quite all out with our pyrotechnics, our lighting and all of those things. Obviously this year a lot of eyes were on the show because of some of our contestants, and the ratings say, you know, a lot of people tuned in, which I think is amazing, because I was a skeptic prior to working on the show, where I was like, why is this even still relevant? And then I saw how hard those women work and the amazing work that they give back. There aren't many platforms where you can enter a competition and become a Zozi Bini, become a Tasha Ube, and be able to effect change in your own country and sometimes globally. So I'm all for the pageant. I'm all for women empowerment, hence I push for a female team. I mean, that's not by mistake I'm wearing this t-shirt. You better, you better. You know, there's obviously, then you had to put together Crown Chasers and the run-up to the finale. And, you know, last week we spoke to Mia Leroux, this week we spoke to her, and she's just, I mean, awe-inspiring, right? Breathtaking. And then you hear some of her ideas and you think, what an inspiring young woman. But talk to me about, you know, the work of Crown Chasers, and then, you know, you've got to choreograph certain things, and you're doing it also with a woman who's hard of hearing. I mean, talk to me about all of those technicalities. So prior to the top 30 being selected, obviously we're already in conversation with our client, Miss South Africa organization, and they shared with us, oh, we might have a deaf contestant, so we just have to start being aware. And then once she was in the top 30, we were like, what can we do to make the show more inclusive? Because her community will be tuning in to watch. So it isn't just about closed captions and subtitles, which are a lot of work. You also can't do that in a live broadcast. We're not yet at that stage of automated subtitles. So we said, let's bring a sign language interpreter for the finale in the form of Andiswa Gebashe. And then, of course, when we are rehearsing, there were many, many stairs. Everyone's like, Relebogile, stop putting so many stairs. We were trying to give an ode to the old school pageants with many stairs. But But then you have to remember that when you're hard of hearing, it affects your balance. So we made sure that we had 2 gents in suits that were always on standby to assist Mia. We had the auto cue to assist her as well. We didn't get it 100% for the community, and it's still a work in progress. But I'm very, very glad that Mia gave us the opportunity to not just speak to the hard of hearing community, but also speak to communities of individuals living with varying kind of disabilities, to say you're also worthy of representing women.
Sure, I'm trying to think. You know, there's a lot of things that people wouldn't have thought about, right? Like if you have a hearing problem, for instance, that impacts on your balance, and then you're in high heels and a very tight dress, and you're coming down. You know, Relebogile just put stairs and stairs and stairs on the stage, and all of that comes together. And then I know that there's obviously music that needs to be added in there, and you learned quite a bit about how she understands music.
So. The misperception is that a cochlear implant is something that goes in and now suddenly you can hear everything, right? But how her brain processes sounds is not the same way ours do, in the sense that us South Africans, we're very musical. You hear a beat, you know where to move.
Yes.
So for me, it doesn't translate that way. And then even worse, I went in at a crazy drumming opening where I remember the first time we rehearsed the drumming opening and the instruments were playing with the track, it was so overwhelming for her because of how she processes sounds. So she can't count and hear music the way we do. So it required, as you also may have seen in Crown Chasers, that when we were doing the dance challenge with Robot Boy, her team, she was following her team. So even with the rehearsals, we had to give her different cues. Our floor manager, and shout out to the entire team that was assisting, would be there to help cue her when to walk. So these are things you don't think about until you have somebody in your midst that now you have to work harder to be inclusive. But that's her everyday life, is going into spaces, not hearing certain things, not being considered. And now we're going to have to expand and get to a level where we are fully including the community.
Sure. It's such a great learning opportunity. I mean, I'm enjoying taking it all in because, you know, when we spoke to her at the beginning of this week and I asked her the issue around music, and she, I can't remember the wording that she used, but she talked about feeling music. You know, and it really, I mean, very differently to what we do, but I think I heard I heard her talk about the word feeling music, which I thought was, you know, really, really interesting. Talk to me about the ladies, right? I mean, you've got all these, it's a competition. And we see them on stage, poised and beautiful, and Crown Chasers, well-spoken, poised and beautiful. Was there some ever drama in the back?
I think whenever you have a group of different personalities together, there will be friction. I mean, Newzroom Afrika is a massive team. Y'all ain't going to be friends all the time. However, what I can tell you is that the group of contestants that go through this journey and shooting the reality show, they live together for a period of time. They become an actual sisterhood. I can tell you from 2022, the contestants we had that year, I saw one of them was getting married. All her sisterhood were there.
That's incredible.
So much as it looks like a competition, they really are rooting for one another. When one person goes through a hard time, they cry, you know, because they're going through this journey together. And a big part of what we wanted to emphasize in this season is vulnerability. Because we don't want to portray girls looking beautiful on stage, makeup and hair done, and it's like my life is perfect. Where some of these ladies have shared, you know, one was living in the streets because home was not safe for her. She was homeless as a child. One grew up in an RDP house. The idea of being on South Africa was unimaginable. One of them is a victim of sexual assault. Another one a victim of domestic violence. We had a single mother of 2. These are everyday women that we can relate to. So we really wanted to emphasize showing the other sides of them, because they are you and me.
You know, it's hard to have this discussion and you know, not talk about the elephant in the room, right? Hashtag Chidima, you said earlier, why are people still talking about this? How difficult was it then in the run-up to the pageant to keep everyone focused?
So, you know, my job as the executive producer my job is to point cameras and shoot and come with a creative. And I think many people think I have this power to select contestants. I do not have that power. I'm not a part of the judging process. There's an auditing firm that comes in and they are part of all of that, just to clarify, because people think I select contestants. What I said to the team in the middle of what was happening was, what is our job? How do we continue and stay focused? It's very easy to get distracted, especially if government departments are releasing statements and all of these things. And to have a talk with the team to say, the show must go on. That is show business. Irrelevant of what happens, the show is going to go on. That is the expectation. So I would sit and have conversations with the ladies and say, remember before you went home, I told you all, do not get distracted by fluff happening outside. Stay off of social media. Do your obligations that you need to as contestants, but let's keep our eye on the prize.
Sure.
And that really was the bottom line. I mean, they were absolutely heartbroken when Chi withdrew, because they've been part of the journey with her, and I think they all felt that she deserved to be there, having given up 6 weeks plus of her life. But I think for now, we all just wait to hear as South Africans what Home Affairs has to say about the outcome of the investigation, and hopefully they can give clarity.
Yeah, you know, I can just imagine how tough that must be.
Yeah.
To keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah.
When all of this is taking place. I mean, it's something that's easier said than done. But let's talk a little bit about your own achievement. I mean, you talk about having started out behind the scenes as a production assistant, and now you are the executive producer of a platform that, you know, puts together a show that I think is watched by so many young women, obviously everyone, but by so many young women, and they watch themselves and their aspirations on that stage. What do you take from that? Because that's a heck of an achievement.
It's so difficult because there's still not many people that look like me that sit at the tables I sit at. And it is a team effort. I literally, you know, will say to the lighting team, the set designer, this is the vision in my head, please bring it to life. And every year they have been able to bring it to life in conjunction with the Miss South Africa organization. And of course, they have a brand to look out for and protect. So I think I've done a good job in finding the middle ground where it comes to broadcaster. We've been on Mzansi Magic, we've been on national broadcaster, and also satisfying the number of sponsors. At the end of the day, Miss South Africa is a private pageant. Somebody went and bought the rights to be able to send a girl to Miss Universe and Miss Supranational, and you still have to tick all the sponsor boxes to make this machine operate. Where I guess it's bitter is the realization that it's 2024 and it's still like, wow, I was the first black female, won an award for it, but it is a very full circle moment. This year was 30 years of freedom and democracy, and we took a moment to celebrate Bastana Khumalo. And I was chatting to her, and I said to her, I'm so glad I could get the opportunity to give you your flowers, because literally when you won 30 years ago, I was there in the audience, wishing I was Miss South Africa at 8 years old, because my parents used to take us. And God was like, nope, you're not going to be Miss South Africa, but you're going to produce Miss South Africa. And it was such a full circle moment, sharing with her and her saying, you put on a world-class production. It's great to see a young black woman in these spaces, because there's still so few of us in the media and entertainment industry. So it's bittersweet, and we still got a very long way to go. There's still departments that are very male-dominated, be it your AV and tech, be it your camera operators. We've got a long way to go. So I always keep my eye on the prize. Don't celebrate too much, because the work is not done. Well,
we're celebrating because progress is something that must be celebrated. And what you're describing now with that 30-year journey, right? The discussion with former Miss SA Bastana Khumalo, you are executive producer of the finale. Sounds like a full circle moment for you and your career, certainly. And congratulations on the SAFTA after you produced the 2022 live finale. And we hope that the awards keep coming. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I hope that you've inspired so many people that are watching this morning.
Thank you so much. More awards and more money. Bring more money, more budgets.
Yeah, we want budgets.